So I'm here with Will Penney. Will is an attractor, an influencer at eXp. Great guy. He's helped grow the company significantly. You know, we made the move with our team, which is a mega team, over on August 18th of last year. We're already growing and putting things in place. So, Will, I wanted to find out from you, you know, your scenario was a little bit different because you owned a smaller brokerage, correct?
That's right. For 21 years.
21 years you owned a brokerage, and I'm sure just like us, you kept telling everybody who was mentioning eXp, I don't want to hear about it, get away from me. And then what clicked that you said, wow, I got to move my brokerage over on this platform?
Couple things, actually. I'm 54 now. I was 52 when we joined eXp in September of 2021. As a brokerage owner, we sold 2019. There was 7 of us, and we sold 256 houses with 7 of us. So our per agent production was really strong, is really strong. The problem is, though, as a broker owner, my wife was the broker, but the problem is, as a small brokerage owner, is the more homes you sell and the more agents you have, you're increasing the liability. We're in a very litigious country. And when everything's on your shoulders, I noticed we had never been sued before, ever. Then in 2019, leading into 2020, we had a lawsuit. We had an attorney who was a buyer on one of our listings. He found a dead raccoon in his attic, and he sued us for fraud. He wanted $75,000. We finally got it dismissed, but it took a year. And it was really soul crushing for my wife, the broker. And we had a lot of conversations about how now, you know, for a long time, people didn't sue, but we saw more and more and more lawsuits. We only had the one, but other brokers I know, they were getting sued much more often, or having complaints filed at the Division of Real Estate much more often. And this market that we just came out of, we're going to see a lot more of that stuff, you know.
And you could literally have 500 5-star reviews, do everything perfect on a transaction, and with the way society is nowadays and anything, they get a little claw on their foot that they say, you know what, I'm not happy, I'm suing these people, I'm filing. Right. Now you can't do anything about it, and you have to pay to defend it.
That is exactly right. So we had insurance, but just psychologically, I felt really exposed after that lawsuit. So I looked at my business differently. I mean, we were doing, just with our tiny little company, we were doing $1.5 million in revenue a year. But it was the exposure that I started thinking about that was bothersome. The second thing is, as a small brokerage, I was constantly buying my technology. I had an app called Smarter Agent that was owned by Gary Keller. Well, he decided to stop offering it to independent brokerages. So I lost my home search app. So I would have had to recreate and develop a home search app if I wanted to get another one, which I didn't want to do. So I was noticing that the liability was bothering me as a brokerage, small brokerage. Then secondly, I was really concerned with all of the other national companies like Keller Williams, Remax before them, now eXp. They were trying to poach my agents behind my back, as they should. That's what they do. I get it. So I was seeing that pressure. I wasn't able to plug into the collaboration and the education that the larger brokerages were able to offer. We had a lot of other things, like just my experience over 35 years. That's what kept my agents around. But I wasn't so naive to think that I might not be able to compete down the road. I saw the trend. I mentioned it before, destructive competition. We're seeing large brokerages lower their caps, offer more incentives, and that's just squeezing and squeezing and squeezing profit. I didn't want to end up having something that I had to walk away from at 60 years old that wasn't worth anything, or see my income shrink because I couldn't compete as a small brokerage over time. So I've always been thinking one step ahead in my business. And a lot of small brokers don't. They think, well, things are great now, but they don't think the way things are compounding down the road, and it might impact them negatively. Well, so that was the second thing. Finally, every year we come down to Florida for 2.5 months a year. I'm here now, actually. We're in Marco Island, Florida. And every year while I'm down here, I think about something that I'm going to do different going into the new year. So 2019, we got Follow Up Boss. 2020, leading into 2020, before COVID, when we were down here, I bought a moving truck. I ordered that to let our clients use because we always wanted to provide extra value as a boutique brokerage.
Branding
Well,
on the side.
What's that?
Fully branded on the side.
Oh yeah, it's nice, and we let our clients use it. Yeah, I got it from a company called On the Move. It was a great decision because it's a moving billboard and it's nice, really nice fiberglass box. I mean, I love the thing. So anyway, we did that. But then going into 2021, like right in the middle of COVID, I was thinking, I make a lot of money by anyone's standards. I don't say that in a boastful way. It's just it's a fact. And how can I walk away from this? The problem is so many high earning real estate agents like you and me and others making more money than us and more money than us. We don't think about what are we going to do to replace that income down the road? I was in my early 50s thinking, I make a lot of money now, but how much money would I have to save to spin off hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in income? I figured it out to be about $5 million. I'd have to save about $5 million just to throw off 200 grand a year, right? How many rentals would you have to own and leverage them, with 20 or 25% down to have enough money where you can actually slip from your sales income into that income? Most real estate agents can't do it. That's why so many agents we know work into their 60s and their 70s, because they can't walk away from a six-figure income. They've got nothing to back it up. So I started thinking about that heavily at 52 years old. Like, what am I going to do to start creating a stream of income so that at some point I don't have to sell houses? I mean, this is my 36th year. I got in when I was 19 years old, right? So
yeah, I mean, and I hear you. I'm only 42 and I'm going close to 20 years.
Right. So I was 19 when I got in, and I had no setbacks ever, thankfully. 2009 was rough, but 2010 was the best market ever for me, just because we lost so many realtors. I started thinking about what can I do? So I started a subscription-based business helping realtors use Facebook groups to build their sphere and nurture their sphere in a Facebook group. Because I had a successful group, so I started a company, socialorchard.com, since that's what it is, and that was going to be my way out of sales. Well, I started getting on a lot of podcasts. This is how I got to eXp. So I started getting on a lot of podcasts, national ones, like 15 of them. And I ended up on a podcast called the Agent Power Huddle, a guy in California, in San Diego, by the name of Jesse Zagorski. I didn't even know he was at eXp. I wanted nothing to do with eXp. I remember being on the Real Estate Marketing Dudes podcast. I was on Real Estate Rock Stars. I was on Jeff Cohn, who's a KW guy. I was on his.
Didn't you do Lab Coat Agents too?
Lab Coat Agents. I did all of those, right? I was on Sean Kokoska's podcast. I didn't know he started MAPS coaching for Keller Williams, and now he's at eXp. But anyway, I was on Jesse's podcast, Jesse Zagorski, and talking about Social Orchard and how to use Facebook groups to nurture your sphere of influence, because our sphere and our past clients are the currency of our business. And most of us we sell a house, do a great job, and we don't do a very good job of making sure we stay in their heads. And so I think I nailed it with the Facebook group, because there's no easier way. But all of that aside, I was on these podcasts. Well, I became friends with Jesse, and he invited me down to this eXp convention, the Build convention in July of 2021. I said, dude, with all due respect, I do not want to go to an eXp convention. He said, I'll pay for your ticket. Just come on out. I'm like, so I asked my wife. I told a couple of my friends. They all laughed at me, by the way. They're like, you're going to an eXp convention? I'm like, yeah, but I'm going there to talk about my other business, because that's really all I was focused on. Sure. Jesse said he could introduce me to some big team leaders, which he did do there. Well, at the end of day one, I got to meet Rick Jiha at his Empire Builders little like happy hour. Rick told me a story. He owned 9 KW offices. Well, then I met Jeff Willems, who owned 4, I think, Remax offices, shut them down.
We flew Rick Jiha out to Cleveland. My dad and him are very tight. We flew him out here to teach classes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't know any of that, right? So I meet Rick, and I heard about his background. I'm like, okay. then I started, in the event, I started seeing these major team leaders, like teams your size and bigger, huge solo agents selling 200 homes a year with, 60 million in sales with a buyer agent. I'm like, they all left either Remax, Keller Williams, Long and Foster, Compass. I'm like, these are major players. So by day 2, because it was only a 3-day event, the gears started turning, going, this is what happened with Keller Williams in 2006 in Northeast Ohio. They came in, talked about profit share. All of the agents made fun of them. They grew through that and became the largest.
I lived it.
Right. They grew through that and became the largest real estate brokerage in the country. And if you add all the independent offices in Northeast Ohio together, they're probably as big as Howard Hanna, which is a huge independent. So I'm like, I started going through in my own head, this is how it's going to play out. It just hasn't happened yet. So by the end of the 3rd day, I was like, I can't believe this, but I think I'm going to join eXp. It took, once I saw these big players that I respected, multimillionaire agents, not recruiters. These are real estate agents like me, selling a lot of homes that have now moved over to eXp. Once I understood the compensation plan and how it was built into the model, and it didn't need outside revenue to make it work. They didn't need to sell coaching to make it work. They didn't need to get investor dollars to make it work like Compass. It was self-sustaining. And because they eliminated all of the layers of a traditional franchise-based company. And once it started making logical sense to me, my wife picked me up from the airport on Thursday night. And I said, honey, I got something to tell you. She goes, what? I said, no, didn't cheat on you in Dallas. I said, we've been married 30 years now. And she was the broker at our firm. I said, we're joining eXp. She's like, we had zero conversation about eXp.
Right, exactly.
Zero. I've got 2 of my friends that no longer talk to me. I'll tell you their names offline because they feel like completely violated because I went to the other side. But I came back on Friday, started calling my team agents, met with them all individually. All of them had been approached by eXp agents before. All of them said, this is a great move for us. 2 weeks later, we had 28 deals pending. My wife stayed behind with our closing coordinator. That was in September or August of 2021. September 10th, we moved over. And my wife then came over with the closing coordinator after we shut the brokerage down. And it's been the best move we've ever made. And the reason it's been the best move we've ever made is because my team agents now have access to 50 to 80 hours a week of coaching and training from, like you said before, the top 1 or 2% of agents in the entire system. The top coaches and trainers and thought leaders and influencers are all teaching these classes every week. Right. New content every week. There's a calendar out there that's every week, every hour of the day you can join, and they're all recorded. So you can go to the live one and then you can on Zoom or on in eXp world.
Did you find the same thing that we found, that you heard at the beginning that you're never going to be able to talk to anybody and you were able to collaborate immediately?
Yeah, but that's what I thought too. I thought eXp world is a video game. Here's the fact. There was a time where Priceline, travel agents thought that Priceline was a gimmick. They thought Expedia was a gimmick. And guess what? That is the way that most people order tickets now. VRBO is bigger. They have a higher market cap than Hilton hotels. Blockbuster. I loved going into Blockbuster and getting a movie.
I'm old school. I loved it.
Right. Or Family Video. And now but everything's on Hulu or Paramount Plus or HBO Max. Everything's streaming now. Right. And it's inexpensive and it's better. So eXp world, like you have realized, if I have an accounting question or a technology question, before I didn't have access to any of it, I'd had to deal with it on my own as a brokerage owner. Now we can go into eXp world, pull a ticket, and I all of the things I laughed at before, now I can just walk across the floor, sit down with the broker, sit down with a technology person, sit down with accounting or onboarding and agent support within a minute or two and get my questions answered like lickety split and not have to send emails back and forth, wait for a couple of days. So
Well, here, a light bulb just went off when you said something for me.
what was
And
that?
everybody makes the comparison of Netflix and Blockbuster with the two. Let's make the comparison of cable and streaming. Remember back in the day when you had your cable and you're paying such a
I
high
still have it. I need to cancel it.
Right. But you have your cable and what does your wife say to you? Hey, what are you watching? Oh, it's the same crap that's always on.
Yeah.
Streaming, you want to watch a documentary, you go right to it. EXP World, you want training on whatever, you go
How to
right
call
to it.
FISBOs, how to
Go right to it. You don't have to stick to the curriculum that's monthly, that is the same rewashed curriculum. You go to something new every time you need it.
And there might be an agent in Colorado Springs who's crushing it with expired listings, and you can go in and watch his or her class, or for sale by owners or circle prospecting, whatever it is you want to, or Liz Brown, she's in Virginia and she's got like 50,000 followers on Instagram and Facebook. She's become a friend of mine because she's just crushing it on TikTok. She knows she knows the algorithms. The point is you now have access to the professionals, not just the ones that your brokerage owner decided to hire and bring them in for a day. And if you can't show up to the class, too bad, right?
Then you gotta wait a month or two till it comes back.
Correct. So those are the major benefits. My team agents love getting stock. They love having access to all of the coaching and training and support. They love having access to more collaboration. They've all picked up buddies, other eXp agents across the country in some of these Zooms that we've done with our group, the Agent Collective. Jesse Zagorski is one of the top agents recruiters in the system as well. I mean, he's got masterminds every day of the freaking week. I mean, we always talk about, we have the knowledge, but we don't take action. If you spent all your time taking advantage of everything that eXp and the different organizations have to offer, you'd never get anything done. There's just so much available.
And that's why, like us for a team, we have our own coaching in place. And then when there's stuff that dovetails with what we're doing at the time, we'll say, go in and there's this class this week, just so it's not like drinking from a fire hose.
Right, exactly.
But no, everything you said solidified too. People for years would approach us. Why don't you guys own Inc via Realty? Why don't you own your own brokerage? Because we don't want to. We don't want the liability.
The liability was a big one. But here's the other thing. So I've been here 14 months. When I had Penney Real Estate, since we're talking about small independent brokerages, it's getting harder and harder and harder to recruit and keep agents when you have an independent brokerage, because the only thing you can win on is commission split. All right. I wasn't ever going to give someone a $16,000 cap at my company. I could make $16,000 myself way quicker and not have to deal with them for a year, right? My model wasn't set up for it, and other independents aren't set up for it either. So they're going to have agents leave. They're going to grow them up as a broker owner. They're going to give them the best support and training that they can probably get anywhere. And then they're going to leave you, right? So I knew that. So I only had a teamerage. I had these agents on my team and that was it. I never wanted other bodies in my office. I just had my team. And it was productive and we all love each other.
Yeah.
But I couldn't recruit big agents. Well, now 14 months later, I've got 52 local agents in my office that work out of my Fairlawn eXp office, almost 200 million in sales in 5 months. That's how, but these are like Amy Ho's $50 million team. Then outside, I've got a $30 million agent that I recruited in Toronto. I've got 3 agents that I'm talking to now in Destin Beach that are 3 individual agents do 200 million in sales. I could have never recruited.
Well, and we're getting a lot of teams that are approaching us with traditionals that almost feel like, hey, we missed out on the first wave with KW. Let's see what this is about.
Exactly. So I couldn't recruit the quality of agents to my company that I can to eXp. So now I've got a virtual brokerage of about 80 agents already that I don't have any liability on. I don't have to pay them any money. And eXp thanks me every month by giving me a little percentage of their revenue. And my goal is to keep doing what I'm doing, selling homes, and replace my traditional real estate income with residual income from referral fees on all of these agents as it grows over time. And that's very exciting for a guy like me at my age.
I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, everything you're doing is awesome. I'm more fired up for us than we have been in a long time. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to me about why you guys did it. You know, so if you
This is the fun part for me.
yeah, no, if you guys need anything or vice versa, we're here for you. But Will, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. It was great chatting with you. And
You too, man.
hopefully other independent brokerages can see your story and other mega teams can see our story. And, you know, they'll reach out and they'll say, what is this all about? Because I mean, it is exciting stuff.
A friend of mine's a psychologist, and he talks about unconscious incompetence. You know, when you refuse to look at something that is better just because you're so sure that what you're doing right now is the best, and you just shut down anything else, that's a bad place to be.
Yeah, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, and you don't know what you're saying no to.
Right, exactly. And that's why when I say, and I know everybody says it, I wish we would have made the move sooner. We bled red for KW and we didn't want to hear anything about it. And now, I mean, we're over the moon about everything. So I appreciate you taking the time to meet with us, and we'll talk again soon.